Hi, Archie. Thank you for joining me today. It's great to have you here. You've been at the front line of managing food and climate investment in your experience. So, could you shed light on how do these investments deal with waste system?
Absolutely, and it's a pleasure to be interviewed by you, Brenda. So thank you very much. So previous experience in terms of food waste and investments. One in particular stands out, and that's a company called Bagheera. Bagheera is a Israeli/US company. Their gene edit on the black soldier fly is able to actually produce high levels of lipids opposed to ordinarily. And as a result, they're able to harvest those lipids through, well, crushing down the black soldier fly and use them for the biofuel industry in order to reduce actually the carbon outputs what ordinarily would be used on vast swathes of land, growing crops to then produce biofuel from them. And the way in which that plays into the food waste side of things and almost the circular economy is they're able to feed the black soldier fly on waste streams from the food industry, from human sub areas of agriculture. And as you'll know from previous zoonotic diseases that have spread in the past, that quite often it would be as a result of feeding residues and waste streams from the animal industry back into it that can cause diseases to spread, such as mad cow disease, BSE. So a lot of the feedstocks for the black soldier fly, because it's not actually going into human consumption through insect protein, is able to use waste streams that have actually would not be able to use and ordinarily because it goes into biofuel.
Impressive initiatives. How can you summarize that they contribute to that sustainable food system, technology and innovation?
Technology and innovation, fundamentally, obviously it's paramount to actually improving our food system, reducing food waste. But as a whole, it actually has to ground back and go all the way back to the real foundations of what our relationship with food as a whole. And really the basics of how we used to interact with it going back generations. Improving the efficiency of which food is produced, reducing the waste of it, and having a closer connection to food as a whole enables us to improve the value we place on it.
That's great. Absolutely. Like the integration of technology is crucial. Now, looking more broadly in your experience, how do you see circular economies plays a role in reducing food waste?
That's interesting. So my experience has touched on food waste, but at the same time, it looks at a plethora of different areas of the food system. But looking more broadly at the industry as a whole, almost every area of where we of our lives includes food waste, whether that may be our own fridges, restaurants down the road, our workplaces, or even just eating on the move. Circular economy is becoming increasingly known in the industry. And what I think particularly of interest is the way in which companies are beginning to put regulation and actually put down on paper the way in which we are able to quantify that food waste and make sure that those adding to waste systems are held accountable for it. Whether that may be in simple terms about removing the dates, the use by dates we see on all products, or changing the way in which that is conveyed to the public, or also ensuring that these technologies that are emerging from, let's say, the UK system in particular, where I work, are able to be deployed at the location of where the waste is. And as a result, the people who are working for those companies really engage in how they can be upcycled. And in particular, we see the use of shipping containers as sort of this sort of block vessel that a lot of technologies, whether it may be in the hemp residues from and byproducts in the hemp industry, whether it may be forms of composting or the black soldier fly industry, the shipping container is almost this little bubble where the technologies are being placed, scaled, and they're able to move about right to the location where they're happening.
Lastly, considering your extensive experience, how do you perceive as the key challenges and opportunities in this intersection between food, climate, and investments and waste reduction?
I would say on a level, we all need to engage with our food more. Okay. And I find that a very interesting thing to even say. Coming from a rural background myself, I've always known where my food has come from or grown it, the sort of produce or the actual livestock ourselves. But people, especially in urban areas, need to know where their food has come from. And they also need to understand that although individual acts are important, they're important due to having changes in the wider culture of which we live in the societies, understanding areas of their food and how their actions can have a difference. We also need to know that finance plays a role in this, and in particular our pensions. Pensions, no matter how much we do as individuals, how much we reduce our waste from our own fridges, reduce what we have going on, the lights and the energy we're using, we need to know that all of our pensions, unfortunately, are being used quite often for practices we're not comfortable with, and taking control of that is significant. And people are in the investment world increasingly understanding that there is that momentum from the ground up, from people who are they're managing the pensions of these individuals, that people want change, and so we are seeing increased awareness in every area of our lives. And
Archie, thank you so much for sharing your insight and experience today.
thank you very much, Brenda.